Hey, thanks for joining us for this segment on the state of the NFTs in Ergo. Happy Ergoversary. 4 years in Ergo we're celebrating for this ErgoSummit. And with me to talk about it, we have Crypto Quokka and MGPai. You guys mind introducing yourselves, starting with Quokka?
Hi, yeah, I'm Crypto Quokka or whatever. I am the
Oh, I'm
founder of
sorry.
I don't even care. I'm not Australian, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, I'm founder of Skyharbor.io, which is Ergo's marketplace for buying and selling NFTs instantly. And I'm also co-founder of duckpools.io, but we're here to talk about Ergo NFTs, so Skyharbor it is today.
Awesome. MG, how about you?
Hey guys, I'm MGPai and I'm really into the NFT space right now. Currently, one of my biggest projects is LILIUM, and this is going to revolutionize the Ergo NFT space because it allows anyone to set up a collection effortlessly without needing to outsource any dev work.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. Well, let's get started from the base. Let's move outside of Ergo, since this title of this is NFT space in Ergo. We're going to move outside of it. What are your guys' experience with dealing with NFTs? I see I'm not necessarily outside the space that much, but I do see I have a close relative who sends me a picture of an ape and is like, this one just went for 50 ETH, and in my head, I'm like, what the hell is going on here? So what is your guys' experience with how it works out there outside of Ergo and its ease of use or cumbersomeness or just that in general?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll start, but for me, I started off with Ethereum NFTs, and it's a lot about community and the artist itself, where the artist is building a community around them, and by selling these NFTs, they're giving them kind of access to his community and to show support, or let's say there's future events or some sort of advantages to having those NFTs, or just people like showing off what they have. And that was the state of NFTs when I first joined, but obviously there's more to come and we'll get into that. But yeah, the currently it's just a lot about community.
How about you, MG?
Yeah, so when I first got into NFTs, it was a pretty new concept. So, people were trying all sorts of things with them. And I think what's most successful right now is just showing some sort of utility, right? That's, I think, the number one thing most NFT projects strive for, because that allows your project to be less of a rug, I guess. Because then I guess the artist has to stay there and provide utility and maybe even more NFT derivatives or something like that. And then there's also the concept of, like, I guess, like, people are trying to get more um famous artists, I guess, into it, because I saw that Binance is doing something with Ronaldo actually, and is a famous soccer player. I'm sure everyone knows that. So that's pretty interesting. So I think NFTs right now, it's really easy for anyone to really get into in the general crypto space. So I think they're trying to onboard people into Web3 using NFTs. So it has come a long way from where I started.
So across the platforms, let's take Bitcoin, let's take ETH. What is your general thoughts on ease of use as far as somebody just jumping in off the streets? Let's say an artist with, a low technical barrier or a low technical mindset. If they jump into that space, let's say a Bitcoin, how easy would it be for that artist to be able to pick it up, put their artwork on the blockchain, start, distributing it or selling it or that kind of thing, from your experience?
MGPai, you can go ahead. You've probably dealt with ordinals more than me. I always thought it was escrow services that you can buy ordinals with, but apparently there's smart contracts now. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, sure. So, ordinals are a pretty new concept on Bitcoin. It was established around beginning of 2023, and devs worked on it, I guess, end of 2022. And essentially, how ordinals work is that you have, just like Ergo, you have a UTXO in Bitcoin. And it's just, think of a UTXO as a box, and within box, in Ergo, you have a bunch of assets and registers and all sorts of fancy stuff. And Bitcoin's quite simple. It's not like Ergo. So Bitcoin only really carries Satoshis inside, which is same as Nano Erg, right? Just smaller denominations of the main currency. So a Satoshi in a Bitcoin upgrade that happened about over a year ago or so is called the Taproot upgrade. And in the Taproot, there's like a script, and you can encode arbitrary data in a script. It's kind of like an exploit. So then in a Satoshi, you can encode some arbitrary data. So people decided, why not put some strings in there or any metadata type stuff in there, so you can have it hold a link to IPFS if you want. You can have it actually hold encoded images. So you convert an image into like a string, and then someone else parses that string into an image in your website. So that's essentially how ordinals work. So it's really hacky. It's not really meant to work on Bitcoin. Like Ergo, you actually have a protocol for assets. Bitcoin doesn't have that. So that's how ordinals work. So due to that, it's really centralized. So there aren't any smart contracts really. It's just really hacky. So you have to put your trust in other services. But yeah, so for some artists to actually get into ordinals, they need to like hire a dev essentially, because it's really new. Like you don't like you're not going to go to like a single site and just put all your artwork and be done with it. You have to look through sites, then you have to get your collections up, and you can, I guess you can use some sites, but it's all centralized. And the problem with these sites is they pre-mint everything. So you already, if you have a collection of like 200 NFTs, well, if someone knows your address, they can see the NFTs you minted. It's not a surprise, you know. So that's the problem. And if you want to do something fancy, you have to pay a lot of money to hire devs. And there's not many devs. This is brand new, couple months old. So it's not easy at all for someone to get into ordinals. But it is definitely interesting because it is on Bitcoin.
Yeah. The user, I want to talk about ETH too a bit, and the user experience is actually pretty good on ETH except for the fees, and that's because Ethereum NFTs are contracts or smart contracts, while on Ergo, just like Cardano, they're native assets, and an NFT is just a token with an emission of 1. So sending and transacting with it is the same as sending Erg. It's the minimum fee, or you can pay with Babel fees to send it or buy it. While on Ethereum, you'd have to pay extra gas fees because it's a more complex transaction because it's a smart contract. So it is cheaper to buy and sell and mint NFTs on Ergo. It's really cheap, actually. And the only issue is the user experience on Ergo is much younger, and there's still a lot of the foundation of everything is being built at the same time. So we're all coordinating with each other to fix all these kinks and, you know, get everything working smoothly. But I could see it happening soon, you know. Just like how we like MGPai, I bet you talk with Captain Nemo a lot with for Nautilus. I know I do, because we were one of the first dApps to use a dApp connector with Nautilus, and yeah, there was just a bunch of issues. They've reduced, and it's getting pretty good, but you know, there's still updates on you know, on the protocol layer, so it's hard to keep up with all of it.
So what brought you guys over here to Ergo to play around with NFTs?
I've always been a fan of NFTs. It was just fun. It was fun to deal with, and I saw future utility. I think the current state with profile PFP art and community is cool. I think it's a way for entertainers to gain a following and keep track of their following and support their following. But I think the future of it can be a lot more like property, as in real estate or luxury items, or I think gaming NFTs could be big because current form of video game objects, they're basically NFTs now, but they're on centralized exchanges like on the Steam marketplace. But with NFTs, you can buy and sell them anywhere. So that's going to be probably big in the next bull run, but there's just so much utility you can do with it. And I wanted to get in on the ground floor on Ergo because I think Ergo is very special, where the dev ecosystem is pretty good and a lot you can do with the smart contracts. So yeah, we can dive more into that later, but I think it's
Yeah,
cool.
no, that's great. Pi, what was your entrance into Ergo? Why Ergo? Why'd you come into Ergo after seeing it in other parts of the crypto ecosystems with NFTs? What attracted you to Ergo?
Yeah, so I started out as a developer. So I was initially on Ethereum for the most part. But the problem with Ethereum is it's really saturated. So there's not, if you do any projects, you really need a huge amount of marketing for like anyone to even know about it. So a good thing about Ergo is it's really small. So any work that I do, it will be, seen by at least a few people, and we'll have people use it. And it's easy, it's really easy to access devs. Like I can talk to the core dev of Ergo if I wanted to on Discord by pinging him. It's Kushti. Like it's so easy to contact him. That's the
Yep.
best part. I couldn't even touch Vitalik Buterin if I wanted on Ethereum. So, it's like really nice to have that connection. So, if you're curious about something, someone has the answer. So it's really nice. So I started Ergo essentially because it's a small community that needs, like help to grow. So I was like, I can improve with my developing skills along with Ergo and, contribute to Ergo. And Ergo is a lot easier than Ethereum. The problem with Ethereum, especially development, is that it's really complex. Like right now, there's people essentially writing assembly code just to do NFT transactions so you can save on gas. And if you don't know, assembly code is like really complex code people used to do in like I guess the late 90s, especially because like coding languages weren't as frequent or like easy to
Way earlier
access.
than the 90s. Man, it's old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like assembly, like are you serious? Assembly language just to make NFTs on Ethereum? Like that's such a joke. So it's just too much like work on Ethereum, and it's not efficient. But Ergo, it's really straightforward. If you know what you're doing, like it doesn't get more complicated than that. ErgoScript is a beautiful language. So that's really why I'm on Ergo.
All right, before we dive into specific instances of this and how to implement it, can we show everybody how easy this is, how fast it is? Let's do
For
it.
sure.
Go for it.
Let me bring this up. Okay, so this is Ergo Auction House version 3. Is it version 3, right?
Yes,
V3.
yes,
Version
version
3.
3.
We come to the site. We've connected our wallet with Nautilus already. We're gonna hit mint. We're gonna choose our artwork, and you probably can't see this, but let's do Sigma
Oh, we
Knot
can see
logo. Oh, you can see the pop. All right, we're gonna do the Sigma Knot logo. We are gonna call it Sig Ergo 1. We're not gonna do a collection, right? No collection. Royalty. You guys want to talk about royalty real quick?
Yeah, sure. So royalties on Ergo are pretty nice. Essentially, you just input the address and percentage, and whenever your NFT sells, whatever address you inputted gets a part of that sale. And
So
you can add
It-
as many as you want.
you can't strictly enforce it. It's up to somebody like Skyharbor or Quokka to
yeah,
enforce that.
it's just in the
Correct.
metadata in one of the registers, but we do enforce it on our smart contracts. You can actually use the data in the initial emission of the NFT to enforce the royalties, so people can't bypass it.
Is there a limit to how many addresses? If there's like a team of 10 people that made the NFT, you could add all those 10. I wonder if I've never tried. Interesting.
I don't believe there is a limit to how many addresses, but I think there is a limit on the front end to the percentage. I think the highest you can go is 10 on the
10%.
website.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we go. We are testing minting an NFT. Go, and let's do we'll put this in here too. We'll put a web address in there too.
Ooh.
Like that. Perfect. All right. You can add some traits if you want to. We're not going to. This is definitely not plus 18, not required.
Not safe for
So
work.
we're going to hit next. We're going to double check everything. We have no royalty. We have no traits. Everything looks good. I'd probably want to pad my image if I was doing this for real so that it doesn't look like that. And we're going to hit issue. And we should have our artwork uploading. we can, and this is really cool too, right? With version 3, we can pay 53 auction house tokens, or we can pay, oh, this ridiculous amount, guys. You guys are gonna have to send this to me. I don't know if I have this. So we can pay
Pricey.
that's not even, that's a 0.05 ergs. Wow. So we're gonna hit pay fee. We're gonna pop up with a TX.
I'll cash app you the 6 cents ASAP.
You can't see Nautilus pop up, right? In the Zoom window. It doesn't show it.
No. No.
Okay. So I have Nautilus window popping up. I'm going to sign the TX. I just got it. We can see the TX here in Ergo Explorer in the mempool. Let's refresh. It takes a second to hit the mempool. And there it is. So if you look, we have our token right there, already sent back at us. So once this is confirmed, we should be able to, if we click on the token now, we're not going to see anything, but once it's confirmed, we'll see the definitions here that'll read from the blockchain, and your token will be there. I mean, what'd that take? If we weren't blabbering our mouths, that would have been what, 30, 40 seconds or something like that?
Yeah.
Exactly.
0.05 erg.
I guarantee on Ethereum this would be like $50.
$50, yeah, minimum. And then
Because you got to deploy a smart contract, then you got to mint on the smart contract.
yeah, and then your transaction fails and you have to try again.
Or your gas fee was too low because another ape
Yeah.
was on the loose.
Yep.
All right, now let's dive in, guys. Let's start with you, Quokka. In Skyharbor, what do you do in Skyharbor? What makes Ergo so special that you decided to develop Skyharbor or work with Skyharbor on it to bring across the services that you do for the Ergo community?
Yeah, well, Ergo is special to me because the smart contract language is super. It's really good. It's easy to read, and I don't know what else to say. It's easy to read, it's easy to build, you can expand upon it, and you can do a bunch of different stuff with it. See, Ergo NFTs aren't smart contracts, they're native assets, so you can treat them as a currency, as Erg. So you can do anything you can with them smart contract wise as you can with anything else. So it just leaves room for a lot of things, like making collateralized NFTs would be somewhat simple. You can do buy now, pay later, things like that. It's like the limits, you can't think of it because you can't think that far. But I got into it because I was in the Ergo NFT space and we only had the Ergo auction house, and I realized there was a market for instant buying and selling NFTs, not just auctions. And so I actually dove into the code of the Ergo auction house because it was open source, and I figured out how transaction building works. And that's the great part. Another great part about Ergo is that the transactions are built off chain. So you just build it and send it over. It's nothing complex. I don't have to like connect to a smart contract or anything. And if it fails before it even reaches the blockchain. So it's a pretty simple environment. And I mean, I'm not the sole builder of Skyharbor. I have a team. I have a smart contract person and a back end person. I dabble in everything, but mainly I do the front end. And it's cool to have somebody, I work with Crass, who's really good with smart contracts, and I work with him to build the transactions and send them off. It's dummy simple, and we just use JavaScript for it and TypeScript. So there really shouldn't be any roadblocks if you want to build a dApp. And there's a long way for Ergo to go to catch up with the other blockchains. So I think there are low-hanging fruits in the space that people can get in and crank out if they really want to get into blockchain development.
And in the ethos of Ergo and kind of how you've built Skyharbor, one thing that I was surprised at when I first started talking to you a while ago is that you've essentially built a front end to your smart contracts, and anybody can tap into those. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, our front end and back end are closed source, but our smart contracts are open source, which is the most important part, obviously, because people need to know where they're sending their money into. But we are helping community members and other developers basically putting that code into their into what they're doing, because we're not trying to stop people from building. It's just there's some stuff there that we don't want to share, but most of it we do. And yeah, so the main thing we want to work on is the infrastructure for buying and selling NFTs. So right now, our smart contract, you can get, like, we have all the data you guys have on the smart contract. It's just we grab it and we put it in a database and we organize it, and it's easy. It's faster and easier to get this information. And so we have an open API. Anybody can use it to get transaction information and NFT buys, sells, market data. And they can even use that to import it onto their website. And we'll soon be having some open source stuff so users can just implement transactions onto their own site. I don't think the special part of Skyharbor is the marketplace, people buying and selling on our website, skyharbor.io, although it is nice. I think it's people using our infrastructure and using our smart contracts to just super easily bring a marketplace onto their own page, onto their own website, or even video games, which we're talking with Cyber Pixels, which is a popular NFT game on Ergo. And we'll be having our marketplace on there soon. We are talking with Blitz TCG, but we'll see how that goes. So yeah, there's definitely a lot you can do.
That's pretty, and I think you just recently AirCube tapped your resources
Yeah.
as well, just to have a really nice list of all your NFTs on its website, from searching to going straight to the auction site or the purchase site and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's really really neat. All right, let's see. MGPai. So I don't want to start off on a new project just quite yet. Can you talk about something that not many people know until you mention it, but you've developed some Python libraries to actually allow some crazy NFT creations in bulk amounts and that kind of thing. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, sure. So, back in the day when I started off on Ergo, I did not really know much Scala, which is the coding language the most advanced Ergo stuff uses, like ErgoPad and staking and Spectrum. They all use Scala. So back in the day, I did not know Scala, so I was like, damn, I only really knew Python because I was a beginner dev. So I was like, okay, so I need to figure out how I can use Python to interact with Ergo. And initially, it started with API calls. So before I get into the library, the one really cool thing about Ergo is its node. Its node is really powerful. In other blockchains, like for example Bitcoin node, like they don't really have a robust API on the node directly. You need to like get all third-party apps, and this is not easy for the average person. So on Ergo, you have a node, and the node has a bunch of API endpoints that's easily accessible. You just go to your node link, then colon 9053, which is the mainnet node, and you get an entire list of all API endpoints right there. And you can just directly use that. You don't even need an explorer. There's a endpoint now called blockchain, which is actually quite new. And if you go to that endpoint, you can enter your transaction ID and see all the info on your own node. You don't even need to use the explorer. And this is such a big deal because like you can't do this for other blockchains. So when I started with Python, I used to use the node API directly. So you could like make API requests to the node, and I could use the node wallet directly to make transactions. And this is the easiest way for anyone to get started on Ergo as a developer. Look through the node API. So then this I needed more complex stuff, and the problem with using the node API is you need a node wallet, and you can only use that one wallet for everything. So then I looked into Ergo AppKit, which is a really powerful tool that allows you to create Ergo transactions using Scala and Java and all that. So there, found one of the devs found something that allows you to translate that library into Python using a library called JPipe on Python. So it's called a wrapper. Essentially, you have a wrapper Python wrapper over Java or over Scala essentially. So I used a wrapper to interact with Scala libraries on Python. Then I could directly access all the functions of the Ergo AppKit library on Python. So it's really hacky, but it worked really well. So from this, I was able to really understand how Ergo transaction building works. and I started making, bulk NFTs. I could do bulk anything, You can even make really nice, cool Discord bots too using ErgPi. So, Python is a really cool language because anyone can get started with it with minimal effort. You don't need an entire like IDE, entire library or anything like with Java. You just need a couple lines of code and you just need a Python interpreter and everything just works. And I believe QX is a big fan of ErgPi. I see him play around with my library, and I even helped him back a couple months back.
I do. I use that exclusively for my airdrops. I built for one of the Ergo hacks. I built a data importer, so you can take an Excel sheet of addresses, amounts, and tokens, and you just ingest them into the site. You hit build, and it builds. Literally, it builds the Python script that MGPai has, and you just run that, and it does it. Unlike, because I needed something that I think Erg Utilities only lets you airdrop a set amount of divisible tokens among a certain amount of users. I needed a tool that would give many different types of tokens at once in many different amounts. So exactly. So your ErgPi was fantastic with that. And how do you, and that scales to, you have something that just batch creates a ton of freaking NFTs, right?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, eventually I created like a tool, a bunch of functions in Python to batch mint NFTs and all, and with royalties and all that. So, ErgPi is really nice, but the problem with ErgPi is, or the current implementation of ErgPi is that it's really difficult to work with contracts on ErgPi because contracts are a lot more complex than like basic transactions. And for basic transactions, like ErgPi is good, but you need Scala for more complex things. So, about a year ago, I started to transition off Python and into Scala because I wanted to work with contracts, you know. But one thing about ErgPi is that, I'm looking, in the future, maybe next few months, I'm looking to actually build a native library. So it won't be a wrapper anymore. Instead, Python will have direct support into will have direct access into Ergo, just like how recently, maybe a few months back or like 6 months back, maybe you had the developer of Nautilus Wallet, Captain Nemo. He created a library called Fleet, which is essentially a native JavaScript library to talk with Ergo. And in the beginning it was really basic, but it's getting better and better every day. And soon everyone will start using Fleet for their websites and all because it's just so powerful. So that's the approach I want to take for Python, a complete implementation from scratch, so you can access Ergo. You don't have to get these weird errors if you use the wrappers and all. So I guess that's the future for ErgPi.
Well, that is pretty cool. I know I love the tool quite a bit and do try to talk about it every chance I get. If you want me to stop, that's fine. If you want to stop developing it, I'll stop promoting it. All right, so tell me about let's move to the future now. Tell me about your new project that deals with NFTs called LILIUM. And correct me if I'm wrong, but that utilizes the new EIP 34, if I'm not mistaken, a bit.
Yes, yes. I think it's two things, EIP 34 and EIP 28, I believe. I don't know the numbers on top of my head, but it does go. It's the 20s range and the 30s range. So myself and my partner LGD, we created I guess a site or a program called LILIUM. And LILIUM is going to be really powerful. We're hoping to actually launch it this week, which would be end of June. So LILIUM allows any artists to effortlessly make collections on Ergo. So the thing is that on Ergo right now, or what most artists need to do is they need to hire someone, if they want to make a collection, and it's all more centralized or somewhat decentralized, nothing like super crazy, because again, like they're not going to be spending tons of money being like, hey artists, come on, give me a completely decentralized interface for NFTs. I mean, there's only so much money they can put into that before their NFT project, right? So what LILIUM is it's completely decentralized. We created a bunch of complex contracts. Well, just one of the contracts, it's about 500 lines of Ergo script, and there's about 8, 9 contracts total in LILIUM. So it's fairly complex. But how LILIUM works essentially is that it allows you to have on-demand minting. So what's the revolutionary part about this is that before on Ergo, and this was like a while back, maybe a year or so ago, you had to pre-mint. Most people just pre-minted the NFTs. So for collections, you would already have collections of 100 minted out, and it would just all sit in a wallet. And then once someone actually sent a buy request, the wallet would just automatically send out the NFT. So it was really centralized. And if you're a more advanced Ergo user, you could like realize that they do this, and you could see all the NFTs they have beforehand. And so there's that component. But then I guess it got a little more complex where people would have minted on demand, but it would be centralized. So this is actually my first version, I guess, of LILIUM I did on my own, kind of using ErgPi, is that I would have a centralized service which would mint the NFTs like to my own wallet, then send it out in batches if someone send a request. So I guess that's the natural evolution of this. And the final current evolution is that now you have smart contracts. So the artist first takes all their metadata, right? And they upload it to LILIUM. And now LILIUM takes all this data and it puts it into a data structure called AVL trees on Ergo. And AVL trees are really complex and difficult to work with, but it essentially allows for just any data storage on Ergo. And then you can verify data is like accurate. So then someone could just talk to our LILIUM contracts and say, okay, I want to mint an NFT. Here's some ERG. They just send it to the contract. The contract take that ERG. They're like, okay, in return, I'm going to mint an NFT for you in return. And it does this. And but your question must be, how do I know it's an actual NFT? Because before, and without using AVL trees, anyone could put any arbitrary data. Like a bad actor could be like, oh, they could just mess up the metadata of it. So the AVL trees, it guarantees the metadata that the artists put initially. So that's the biggest feature of LILIUM, is that AVL tree. It's really complex to work with, but it gets the job done. So essentially, so this is what the artist does, right? They upload it, they put it into smart contracts. Now, the thing with contracts on Ergo is that you need something called an off-chain bot, like an executor of contracts, because they aren't automatic. Just because you send something into a contract, it's not going to automatically send it back to you or do whatever things needed. You need a machine to actually process that transaction. It's called an off-chain bot, and everyone must be familiar with the bots that Spectrum uses. They're off-chain bots, and if you run these bots for Spectrum, for example, you get ERG in return for actually processing transactions. So this is the same thing we have built for LILIUM, this off-chain bot infrastructure, so that anyone can run these bots and earn ERG for doing so. And these bots are the actual ones that process the contracts. So now the artist has uploaded their metadata and it's been processed into smart contracts. Now the user, what do? All they do is they just go to their site and they click mint. And when they click mint, they just send ERG to a smart contract. Then an off-chain bot executor essentially sees that ERG sent to the contract and it gives a NFT in return, completely decentralized. And it's effortless. The artist doesn't need to care what's going on in the background. They just need to worry about the metadata, and they don't need to set up their own off-chain bot. That was the biggest problem, because when someone hired people, they had to rely on the developers to actually run the bots and make sure nothing gets stuck. Well, guess what? For LILIUM, it's all automatic, and we do all that. So artists don't need to worry about a single thing but their metadata, and it just works for them. And one more thing that I added recently, which delayed LILIUM by a month or so, is the ability to accept any type of payment. So you can accept Comet or Greasy Sex to get any NFTs. So the artist just needs to put the token ID, and the buyer just needs to say, I want to use X token to buy my NFT. And on top of this, we added two more features. The first feature is a pre-mint token. So let's say the artist wants to boost engagement on Twitter or Discord or whatever. They say, okay, if you retweet or like, or if you were active on Discord by chatting to a bunch of people, you earn pre-mint tokens. And pre-mint tokens, they allow you to mint an NFT before the public sale. So during public sale, anyone can go mint your NFT if you pay the price. But I guess the problem is, what if it's super popular and the supply is limited, like 50 NFTs, and you have like 1,000 people who want that, right? It's going to go in an instant. So with pre-mint tokens, the anyone can mint before that actually starts. So you're like your loyal fans or whatever can go ahead and do that. And the other feature we added is whitelist tokens. So let's say you just want to, again, give tokens to loyal fans because they're active in your community. Whitelist tokens allow you to just mint a token for free. All you do is you pay the whitelist token and you get an NFT in return. You don't need to pay Ergo or any payment tokens at all. And this also allows you to mint your own NFTs if you want without paying Ergo. So it's really revolutionary to the space because it's effortless. You don't have to care about a thing. It's just me. I have to care about everything.
Dang, that's pretty neat, pretty complicated, but pretty simple, at least from the front end, from hearing about what it will be like for the final user, for the
Yes,
end
yes.
user.
Our focus is on the end user. It's going to be super easy for the end user.
So that's crazy. And can you tell me how both of you, Quokka as well on Skyharbor, how now when I hear people talk about they come to Ergo and they try to mint NFTs in a collection. One of the things about Cardano and other chains, well, Cardano, let's take Cardano with UTXO, is that they have things called policy IDs, which allow all the NFTs kind of to exist in one batch. So you can look up a policy ID for a set of 100 NFTs that were created on Cardano, and you'll see all the NFTs created under that policy ID. With Ergo, I believe we don't have something like that. Everything is its own unique single mint token for that. So how does EIP 34 play into that to allow things to be grouped by collections? How does Skyharbor implement that to show that? And how will third question, how will LILIUM and Skyharbor work together in the future is there any collaboration there or opportunities?
Yeah, I mean, I've spoken with MGPai before. We really want to get EIP 34 implemented into Skyharbor soon. It's just a lot of work. We're getting to it. We have a lot of stuff in the pipeline right now. On Ergo, tokens do have their own token ID, but we organize things by mint address. So the person's wallet that minted the NFT is kind of the source of truth of the originality of the NFT. I'm pretty sure MGPai can speak more about the collection EIP, but the cool part about it, I remember, is that multiple people can work on the same collection, which is amazing because we've been, in being in the Ergo NFT space for so long, it got annoying that people had to put their trust, or artists had to put their trust into the developers basically to like own the mint address and make sure that they don't mint anything off that wallet again because you can't close it out. I don't know if you want to build off that, MGPai.
Yeah, sure. So so EIP 34 essentially allows for collections on Ergo. And if you're coming from Ethereum, Ethereum has this built into their smart contract standard, and it uses the smart contract address. So you would refer to an entire collection by the smart contract address. And Cardano, as QX said, you use policy ID. So on Ergo, it's not really built into Ergo itself. So we need, I guess, EIPs, right? Improvement proposals to have a standard for this. So on Ergo, it's a bit complex. That's why Quokka is saying it's taking so long to implement it. It's a lot of work. You got to read through the entire EIP, do so many tests, and you'll get there. And so EIP 34 essentially allows for collection IDs. Essentially, you take a token and you mint like a bunch of collection tokens, right? And that ID of that token you minted is the collection ID itself. Now, when you mint an actual NFT and you want it to be in the collection, your question is how do you make that NFT belong, right? So the answer is that you have in Ergo, when you do transactions, you have inputs and outputs, right? So you always spend your inputs and outputs is whoever is the recipient. So now to mint an NFT, you have inputs and your outputs. Your inputs is your starting erg, and outputs you get that erg you from your inputs as change, and you get your NFT in the output, right? So that's how you create an NFT. There's no tokens in the input, and the output you get that NFT. So for a collection, for that NFT to be in the actual collection, you must have that collection token in your input, and then in the outputs, you must have that NFT and it doesn't matter if you have that collection token or not. And if you do all those steps, you get you get that NFT as part of the collection. And like I said, this is quite complicated. That's why LILIUM does all this, you know, for the artists. They don't even need to worry about their collection ID. It's just done all for you. And collections IDs also allow you to have collection metadata, so you can have the collection name, the collection description, and like social media links and all, and it's all decentralized on the blockchain, so you don't have to worry. So the thing with Skyharbor right now is that they're centralized, because when they formed, they didn't have EIP34 to go off of. They had to do all this on their own.
Yep.
So the problem with this, and even OpenSea too, is that the artists themselves just input that data into OpenSea, and it's centralized, so they can just change it whenever they want. So if they want to rug it, they can just delete all the names, and OpenSea will just show like no name, you know. And of course, Skyharbor is similar, but you know, I'm sure they have more protection in that aspect. But that the point is that it's centralized, and it's not good, because a bad actor can change it at any time. So with all this collection standard and all, you can have, it's all decentralized, so you can't refute it. You can go to the Ergo Explorer and see all the collection details. So the collection standard is really powerful on Ergo, but it is quite complicated.
So, but
No.
in trying to simplify it, let me see if I can do this. All right, here we go. So essentially you mint tokens. So not NFTs, you actually mint a series of actual tokens. Let's call them MGPai token NFT. And let's say you have 10 collaborators, you mint 10 of them, you hand them out to the other 9, you keep one yourself. So when Skyharbor wants to verify that something's in a collection, it knows that this token, it searches a blockchain for a token, perhaps by this name, if that's attached to the NFT. Then it has to see that that token existed in the minter's wallet as this new NFT was minted, and then it knows that it's part of the collection. So it's got to do quite a few loop back lookups throughout the whole thing to get that there. Is that close?
Yes, yes.
Okay. All right. Sorry, I interrupted you, Quokka. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, it's very true. We've been needing EIP34 for a long, long time, and we hate the process on Skyharbor to get collections listed. It's all manual. So right now we're actually working on an automated collection, creation on Skyharbor that will hopefully use EIP34, because we don't like manually putting them in either. So we want that in there, and anyone could build create a collection. The issue with that, of course, is that there's more room for scams, but you know, we're not here to stop all the collections just because some people are going to do scams. We want this to work on scale, and also for these people to create these collections and have access to our marketplace data on our back end without having to be verified. So yeah, I think I'm very glad LILIUM's being built, because the Skyharbor team, like all the 3 of us, actually tried to build something similar to that a while ago, but it's so much work. Like you guys have done so much work, and we understand how much work it is. So, and we couldn't do it because we were spread too thin. We had stuff to do on Skyharbor, and we just didn't have time for new features. But now that you're coming out with that, we kind of have to put the pressure on, put the foot on the pedal, and get this automated collection standard out. So collection feature out, my bad. And I think it's going to be out, by end of year. So I think the Ergo NFT space is going to grow by a lot soon after this.
I think one of the cool, at least from the artist side of it, I work at a architecture art school, so I see a lot of this kind of stuff. But a cool things about art is it doesn't stop at the creation of the painting or the NFT or whatever they're creating, or the sculpture. Art also happens to be the environment they're in, or the observation of it, or where it's placed, or how people are reacting to it, or what sort of movement it may create beyond that. So one thing that I think will be cool, since these tokens can essentially be swapped from wallet to wallet, correct? So if I want to leave this NFT group of 5 people, I can give the NFT to somebody else, or sorry, the token to somebody else that allows them to mint in this collection. So we could be seeing these cool things in the future where you know, a group of 4 or 5 collaborators get together, they create a series of NFTs. They don't do a cutoff at all. So it's kind of open still. And let's say they start not getting along. So all of a sudden these NFTs start being added to the collection that are in like, you know, disagreement with others. So you get this kind of neat collaboration between the artists. So you get to kind of visualize that and see that as it occurs.
That's
and
super. I love that.
It would be pretty neat to see those kind of things.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is they're native assets, so you could probably make a DAO for them as well and not have a decentralized collection in itself.
That's a
Use
great
Padea.
idea. Yeah, Padea for the that's a great
Yeah.
idea. Damn, cool. Well, that's getting me excited, guys. That's fantastic. Anything, we've gone quite a while. I think we're one of the longer Ergo Summit videos. So anything you guys want to add? Any shout outs to anything else that you're doing or anything like that before we sign off?
I think one thing we need to mention is that how Skyharbor recently added ErgoPay support. And just to talk about ErgoPay, I think this is a feature of Ergo that's often overlooked. I think ErgoPay itself is a big deal because it allows you to have a wallet on your mobile device without actually trusting any extensions or whatever. You can have even a cold wallet too if you want using Ergo Wallet. But the cool part is that it's really simple for developers to actually add and for users to use. All they do is scan a QR code and you get access to their wallet. Then the website doesn't actually get access to the wallet. They can just read the balance and all, right? Like just the wallet address essentially.
It's super secure for sure. Yeah, that's what I love about Ergo is building the transactions off chain. You just have to build it, send it over, and the smart contract verifies it. And if it's not verified, it just doesn't go through. Sorry, I cut you off. You were
Yeah,
going on.
exactly. Like it's super secure. Like you don't have to trust the website. Like on Ethereum, you're scared to even connect your wallet or sign anything, right? You're like scared. It's like a virus if you even connect your wallet. But on Ergo, you can go to a wallet and even if you scan the QR or whatever, nothing's gonna happen because you need to physically click the approve button on the mobile device for anything to happen at all. So that scare factor isn't there. So ErgoPay is just super secure, and I think everyone should look at it more and use it if you have a mobile wallet. And I urge other developers to integrate it into their sites.
We just have to teach people to read the transaction confirmation before they hit approve and type in their password.
You can still get scammed if you don't read the list at all.
Yeah.
You're
But you don't give access.
5,000 erg.
Yeah, you just don't give access to your whole wallet. And you also don't have to, like, I don't know if you guys have used Uniswap, but every time you have to swap a new token, you have to approve the swapping of the token, like pay $10 just so
to approve. Yeah, just to say yes.
Approve it. It's so stupid.
One of the things that people forget too, I tend to forget a lot, is that, you know, we're sitting here on desktop computers with a browser plugin and that kind of thing. A majority of the people in the world are operating from cell phones only.
On mobile. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah.
So we really don't even think of that kind of thing. And the world that this opens us up to, where you can buy an NFT on Ergo straight from your phone. That's it.
You can basically make any transaction on your phone. As long as you build it, and then what was the website or the app? Terminus can just take the transaction and submit it. You don't need anything complicated. It's super cool, and that's why I love that it's on Skyharbor, because first of all, the future of commerce is probably mobile. So I mean, it already is. It's not even the future, it's the now version of commerce. It's mobile. Yeah, I see it on every dApp soon.
All right, guys. Well, thanks so much. Thanks for coming and celebrating Ergo Summit, Ergoversary, 4 years at Ergo. I hope we are doing this again in 4 years about some amazing things that Ergo's coming out again.
Happy Ergoversary, guys.
Happy Ergoversary.
Ciao, everybody.
See ya.